This is Bagels Books. Today we're going to be doing another tag video. I love them. This one is the book recommendation tag. This has been floating around. I'm not 100% sure who started it. If I can find it, I'll link them below and maybe some other ones I've seen. But I love an excuse to talk about my favorite books. So this is a series of questions and I'll just answer with a book that fits the question. And as the tag suggests, majority of them are recommendations. So the first question is a book you tell people is your favorite. Obviously, I've talked about Blake Crouch a million times on this channel. So I picked Recursion by Blake Crouch because, as I'm sure a lot of you know, I have talked about this book a ton. This book is a sci-fi thriller about, in this universe, people are having memories of another life. It's them, but let's say it's this man who he had a childhood sweetheart that he never got with. He married someone else, whatever. I'm making this completely up because I don't think this happened in this book. It's been a while since I've read it. But he's having very vivid, very what feels like realistic memories of being in a relationship with this woman all of a sudden. So it's kind of a thriller mystery figuring out that, and once you do it, it's very scientific explanation. Let's just say it has to do with time traveling. But this is one of my favorites by him. I love a good sci-fi thriller. So that is the first one. The next one said, a book that is your guilty pleasure. I wouldn't really say I have any. There's not any books I read that I don't tell people about because I'm ashamed of it. But I picked The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang just because it's like a steamy romance book. And I don't necessarily recommend these to a lot of people just because I don't know how steamy they want to read. So I just picked this book because it's one of my favorite romances. This is about a woman who has autism, I believe. Asperger's. She has Asperger's. She's never really dated before. Her mom keeps pushing her, trying to set her up with men. So she finally goes out on a date with an escort and she's like, teach me how to kiss, how to be in a relationship with someone. So it's like a fake dating situation, romance. Very cute. Love this one. The next one says a book everyone loved but you didn't. Little Fires Everywhere. I don't know why, but I hated this book. I think it's kind of my own fault. I definitely went into it thinking I was about to read a thriller, okay? And that's not what it is. If you've read it, that is not what it is. It is pretty much like a family drama. And that's not what I signed up for. I don't know why, but I pushed through the whole thing because I thought this book is going to turn into a thriller, and it never did. So I definitely think that's my fault, but I have had a burning hatred for it ever since. I tried watching the TV show. I still hated it. I didn't like the TV show at all. So that is a book, and I feel like everyone loves it. Everyone talks about Celestine. I'm pretty sure that was the author, Celestine. Everyone talks about her in her other books, and after that one, I have no cares to read any of her other books just because that one I feel like personally burned me so bad. Once again, it's definitely my own fault, but I just have a bad taste in my mouth about it. The next one is a book that you read the fastest. So I've never actually read a book in one day, or people are like, what's a book you read cover to cover, didn't get up, whatever. Nothing. Okay, I gotta get up sometimes. My butt hurts, I gotta pee, I gotta eat. I get bored a little bit sometimes just sitting down reading for hours upon hours. But one book I think I read this book in 2 days, so that's pretty good. This one is The Push by Ashley Audrain. Loved this book. I read this in nursing school. So the fact that I was able to read this in 2 days means I ignored all of my other responsibilities and focused solely on this book, which is about this woman who is so excited to have children. She's always wanted to be a mom. She has this daughter who she just doesn't connect with. And she's like, what is wrong with me? I do not connect with this girl. I thought having a child, you're supposed to have this motherly bond, and she just doesn't feel it with her daughter. Her husband and the daughter, they have a great bond. They get along great. So she thinks, it's all in her head. It's all her. Something's wrong with her because she can't bond with her baby. Well, She then has a son who she bonds with immensely, is obsessed with, is, you know, in love with, and she's like, you know, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is what the mother-child bond is supposed to be like. So then it kind of gets into, okay, well, is it me or is it my daughter? Is my daughter messed up because she freaking hates me and she is a little bit evil, conniving? But the husband, you know, tells all this time, the husband doesn't believe the wife. No, our daughter's great. No, our daughter's perfect. You're overreacting situation. Very good. Very much a psychological thriller of, is it the mom or is it the daughter? Very good. A book that deserves more hype. So this is one, you know, there's a million books someone could put in here, but the first thing that came to my head was The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by, I don't remember her name. Something O is her last name. I'll put a picture, hopefully, on the screen. I read this one very recently. It is a fantasy book about this girl in the town she lives in. Every year, they sacrifice a girl to the sea god because they believe the sea god is the one who will make their town thrive, their crops grow, you know, all the success. So they sacrifice a girl to the sea god. They literally throw her into the ocean. But this particular year, it is a girl who has been told she's going to be sacrificed to the sea god like her whole life. So she's known this is going to happen, you know. Well, she falls in love with our main character's brother. So the main character sees it, sees her brother hurting. So she's like, I'll go. Like, I'll sacrifice myself to the sea god. So she goes, and she goes down into this, like, other world of spirits and gods and all this stuff. It reminded me a lot of Spirited Away and a little bit of Mulan because there's, like, you know, some ancestors there of other people, obviously. Like, there's spirits everywhere. It's people's ancestors and they, you know, look upon their family. I don't know. It was just really beautiful. It took me a little bit to get into, but it's very beautiful. If you love Spirited Away, the Studio Ghibli film, I highly recommend. Or just really I really like mythology of gods and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that aspect too. It's very beautiful. Did I cry? A little bit. It's just very good. A book that is becoming a movie. There's a million of these once again. I decided to choose People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I'm pretty sure every single one of her books has been picked up for an adaptation of some sort. But this is the one I've most recently heard about, and I think I've seen an interview of Emily Henry saying she has read some of the script. So I think this is the one that's farthest along. I could be wrong. There could be one about to come out. I don't know. This is the most recent one I've read, People We Meet on Vacation. It is very cute. It is about these two friends every year. They go on a new vacation together, but something happens at one point and they don't speak to each other anymore. And this is in the present day where they do have to meet up again. I think it's a wedding. It's been a minute since I've read this. I believe it's a wedding where they have to see each other again. So, and it goes back in time. So it's the present day and then like their first vacation and then present day and then their second vacation together and so on and so forth until you see what the fight was about that broke them up. And then it's a romance. So obviously them getting back together. Very cute. Very summer vibes. I literally read this on a plane to a vacation of mine. Perfect. So very summery, very cute. Loved this one. Very excited to see it as a movie. It's probably going to be hilarious. Emily Henry does hilarious banter. And I do remember laughing a lot with that one. A book that you reread the most. I'm not a huge rereader. And I think I've only ever read a book twice. Multiple books. So I don't think there's a single book I've read more than twice. So, just because I love talking about this book, I chose Maggie Stiefvater's The Raven Boys. Just because I could definitely see myself reading this book again. Even though I've already read it twice. I've been thinking about reading it again. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with me. This book is about this girl named Blue. In the very beginning it said she's been told her whole life the boy, her first kiss, she'll kill him or something. Like if she kisses her true love, he will die. Or something super dramatic. like that. And so her family is full of psychics, so she believes them. Like, it's not just some stupid tale she's been told her whole life. Her whole family is full of psychics. She has a little bit of psychic abilities, and it is about her meeting all these boys, the Raven boys, in this little town of theirs, and they kind of go, like, on a hunt in a weird way. So this is very, like, supernatural. I wouldn't call it fantasy, but there's very, like, a lot of supernatural elements. You know, psychics, ley lines, stuff like that. And I don't know why, but I just love this book. I love everything about it. And it's so cute. There's a little bit of romance in it. It is YA. But this is definitely a book I could see myself rereading again because I love it so much. A book from a genre you don't typically read. So I do not read a lot of sci-fi and fantasy, but I decided to pick a sci-fi because I've talked about a few fantasy. I think just maybe the one, but I'm going to talk about more, okay? So I chose The Martian by Andy Weir. I think this is the only, like, pure sci-fi I've ever read. Like, I've read, you know, Blake Crouch, some sci-fi thrillers. I think he's the only one. But this is, like, pure sci-fi space. The only one I've ever read. And I loved it. I loved it so much. It's so funny. And, you know, I mean, I love science, so I'm not necessarily the least target audience of this novel. But I was able to understand everything. And from what I've read, this book is pretty scientifically accurate. There's obviously a few things that aren't, because we aren't on Mars. So that alone is something that necessarily isn't accurate. So there's a few things he had to, you know, change in this novel to make it work. But for the most part, it's scientifically accurate. This is about our main man. What's his name? Mark Watney. I always want to say Mark Wahlberg because that's, I think, who played it. Nope, Matt Damon. Hate myself. Okay. This man is on a mission with his whole team for NASA on Mars, and he is the botanist. So this really big storm happens, and everyone is trying to get on the craft to leave because they know they won't survive. Their little home habitat thing, hub, won't survive. So they're all trying to escape. Well, in the midst of them escaping, this big windstorm unlatches this pole, and it, like, stabs into him, into his, like, they have, like, something that tells them their vital signs, like their heart rate, stuff like that. It hits that and turns it off. So all of his crew members think he's dead. So they leave because they're like, well, he's dead. Well, he's not. And so this is him waking up on Mars, realizing he's alone and everything is destroyed. He has to rebuild it, figure out a way to live, and figure out a way to tell NASA he is alive on Mars. So, honestly, it's a lot of this man by himself on Mars, so you would think it's kind of boring, but it's not. And it does go back to Earth, and them dealing with the fact that a man died, and them dealing with the fact that, oh crap, he's not dead, he's on Mars, and then them trying to figure out how to get to him and save him. Very good. And it's been a long time since I watched the movie, but I'm pretty sure it was fairly close to the movie, so if you've seen the movie, I feel like you've read the book, but it is really funny. A book that deserves all the hype that it gets. I chose The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This is my favorite thriller by Ruth Ware. It is just such a spooky book. Like, it's just really eerie. The whole vibe is very eerie. It is based on the novel The Turn of the Screw, hence the name, which, if you've watched the Netflix show The Haunting of Bly Manor, that series is also based off of The Turn of the Screw. So if you really enjoyed that show, this gives very similar nanny, watching the weird kids vibe, ghosty, spooky things happening in the house. So if you really enjoyed that show or that vibe, highly recommend this one. Little haunted house, spooky little creepy kids. This book starts with the nanny being in jail. So you know already something happened. And it is told in letters from the woman in jail to a lawyer to be like, please help me, and this is my story. So the whole book is like, it's not necessarily in letter format, but you're supposed to read it as if this is the letter that she is writing to her lawyer of what happened. Very, very good. Let's see. A book that you usually recommend when asked to give a recommendation. If I have literally no clue what they like to read, I usually recommend The Invisible Life of Adelaru by V.E. Schwab. Everyone loves it. I don't think I know a soul who doesn't. So I recommend this one. If I know they really like romance novels, I'll do like Emily Henry, just in general. Read all of them, you know. But this one is about a young girl. Oh, I don't even know when, like the original time period is 1714. She makes herself a deal with the devil to live forever. But plot twist, to live forever means once you leave a room, everyone who's in that room forgets you. So nobody like remembers her. No one knows she exists. The only time they acknowledge her existence is if they're looking at her. They can literally turn around and not remember who she is. So that is her price that she has to pay to live forever. And then, you know, it's her meeting people along the way, how she deals with that. And then, of course, her relationship with the devil is in here as well. Very beautiful book. Very beautiful ending. Love it very much. And so I recommend that one to everybody. A book that has your favorite characters. This one was hard. But I chose Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. If you do not like Casbreaker, get out. Like, wow. This is just like a found family of people doing a heist. I'm pretty sure they're hired to get this guy out of jail. Is that right? I believe so. It is this group of people hired to break this guy out of the most secure prison in this world. And there are trials and tribulations along the way. I don't even know how to really explain it. I didn't think I would like this book at all because I didn't think I was a heist girly. Wrong. Loved it. Love all of them. Such a good book. Highly, 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 highly recommend. The next one is a book you wish you could live in. All right. Obviously, the magical world of Harry Potter. Okay. Send me to Hogwarts. Please. Please. I remember when I first started reading these, I was in middle school, so I was past 11. Heartbroken that it wasn't real and that I wasn't a wizard. Okay? If this world was real, I just can't even imagine. Wow. Tell me, well, for me, Harry Potter is very nostalgic, and I love it so much, and I cry watching them because I just love it so much. So, there's that. I wish I could live in this world and know magic and be a badass witch like Hermione, okay? A book you thought you would hate but ended up loving was The Sparrow. I don't think I've ever talked about this book, by Mary Doria Russell. This one is about first contact with aliens. It is a sci-fi, which I forgot. And it is about this group of people after the first contact of aliens go to this alien planet and live there and try to, befriend them, figure out how they live, how they talk, because they speak a new language. So they sent a linguist to try to figure out their language and pretty much everything that happens to them on the planet. It takes a while. You meet everyone, and it takes a while, I think, to even hear the first contact with the aliens, because it's over like a radio situation. So it took me a little bit to get into, because I was like, okay, where are the aliens, But once we get that first contact and everything starts going, this book is incredible. It is sad. Something happens. A few things happen on this alien planet, so I would look up some trigger warnings if you have any, but this book was freaking beautiful. It is like sci-fi, but so beautiful. I don't even know how to explain it. It is stunning. Stunning. Okay, a book that made you cry. So many. Pretty sure that one made me cry. Okay, so I'm just gonna do the most recent one that made me cry that I finished yesterday. and that is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. What? That book is about this woman, Emma. First of all, it starts with her at her dad's birthday dinner with her fiance. Whilst at this dinner, her husband, who they thought was dead, calls her up and says, "Hey ho, I'm alive." Doesn't call her a hoe, but he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm alive. I've been stranded in the ocean for 3 years, but I'm back." So, and then it goes to the past. So you kind of know that, and then it goes to the past of her growing up, meeting this guy in high school, them getting married, her whole relationship with him, and then of course him going to this adventure in Alaska on their 1-year wedding anniversary, and the helicopter goes down over the ocean and he is presumed dead after a while, and then, as I mentioned, he comes back, and she is, as I mentioned, engaged to another man. So she's trying to figure out, what do I do? What do I do? This book, from the beginning, I was crying. Like, it wasn't just like, oh my God, the ending was so beautiful, I cried. No. I was crying the whole time. Every single day I listened to that book, I'd cry. I'd tell people about it, I'd cry. I don't know what it was about that book, but it made me so emotional. But it was amazing. Loved the ending. I absolutely loved that book. 5 stars, incredible, wonderful. Highly recommend if you want a good cry. And I do believe it is a movie on Hulu, and I'm very excited to watch it and cry some more. A book that you wish you could read for the first time. Once again, there's a lot. I tried not to repeat any books either, so let's just presume a lot of books I've already mentioned. But I chose A History of Wild Places. I don't know what it is about this book, but I was obsessed with the vibes of it. I don't know. I loved this book so much, and I can't even pinpoint what it was, but just immaculate. This book is about this children's author who goes to find this presumed tiny little village, forgot its name, Pastoral. She goes to find that, and then she goes missing. Years later, I think he was a journalist. He's like, I'm going to find her, investigative journalist, probably not a podcaster, but those type. He's like, I'm going to find her. I'm going to follow her footsteps, and I'm going to find her because she was seen on like a gas station videotape. That was like the last time she was seen, right? So they kind of know whereabouts she is. And I do believe they knew she was trying to find this place called Pastoral. So he has a lot to go on. So he goes to find her, goes missing. So it is just kind of a book about like, what the heck happened? How are these people going missing? And where are they going? And it is just stunning. I don't know. I loved that book, and I don't know how to explain to you why. But there it is. A book that could cure a reading slump. I chose Verity by Colleen Hoover because I was in a reading slump. Was it earlier this year? And I reread Verity, and I got out of it. So I chose this because it did cure a reading slump of mine. If you don't know what this book is about, I don't know how. I don't even know how to explain it. Okay, I figured it out. This is about a woman who, what's her name? Super weird. Lowen? Yeah, Lowen, who gets asked to ghostwrite this super popular book series from this super famous author because she was in a car accident and is too sick to finish the series. So she is hired to write, I think, 3 more books and finish out the series, but I believe it's still going to be under the other author's name. Like, I don't think it's going to have her name on it, if that makes sense. I mean, even if it did, it was going to have a fake name. And so she gets hired to do this job. The author's husband is like, you can come over to our house and look through her office and all her notes there everywhere and get her outlines and her ideas for these novels, whatever. So she goes to do that, she somehow ends up living there, and she finds a very dark manuscript of the author who she is ghostwriting about her life and the things that have happened in her life. And I'll just leave it at that. And there's a little weird romance in here as well, because it's Colleen Hoover, and there's gotta be. But yeah, this book is freaking crazy, and the ending, it is not tied up in a neat little bow. It is very ambiguous, and for you to decide what you think has happened. So it is very popular, in my opinion, for a reason. I think it's the ending. I think people like a very clean, tied-up ending on a book, and that one doesn't have it, which is not super common, so I think that's why it's super, super popular. But it is really good. It is a ride. It is a ride for sure. A book you think everyone needs to read. I'm going to caveat this with, this book does have some trigger warnings, so if you don't want to read about that, obviously don't. But I still think, for a lot of people, this book would be really good to read. And it is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This wonderful book is an autobiography by Chanel Miller, and she was the gal in the Stanford rape case. So when the case was going on, I believe her name was under something else, obviously fake, and she released a super long statement at the end of the trial that apparently got super went viral. I don't remember it happening, but it went viral, and it didn't have her real name. It had the fake victim name they had attached to it. So I think time went on, and she was like, no, I want people to know I wrote that. That was me. So hence, Know My Name. And then she wrote this book about her experience during the assault and the trial and some of it after. And this book's really beautiful. And as previously mentioned, trigger warnings for sexual assault, of course. But I just thought this book was really beautiful, and, it made me, so mad, It made me want to do something, even though I don't really know what to do. But it just made me, so mad for her and everybody who goes through this. And then the stupid men get these light sentences. Ridiculous. Ugh. But this book was just really beautiful, and I loved it very much, and I really want to read it again. And I listened to it originally, and it is told, it is read by Chanel Miller, which makes it even more impactful. It's her voice saying, her emotions and what she went through. Oh, so beautiful. I just love it so much. Everybody should read it. If you can read it. A book that would make an amazing movie. Many things, of course, but I chose The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I forget how big this book is until I pick it up. This book is a Groundhog style book where our main character wakes up in a different person's body every day, and he's trying to solve a murder. But every day he gets a different perspective of what's going on, and so he hears different things, he sees different things, talks to different people to try to figure out this murder. He only has so many days to figure it out. I can't remember how many. I think it's a week, honestly. There's no way. He was in more people's heads than that. But I really enjoyed this book, and the ending was very different, in my opinion. It has a beautiful map of the grounds. But I just think, I had a friend read it because I loved it so much, and I forced it upon her. And she said, I did like the book, but I think it would be a better movie. And I was like, you're right. I think it'd be such a good movie. So I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I do think it'd be a great movie. And to my knowledge, it's not going to be. It's not up in the air or anything like that, but very good. I think very unique. I've never read an ending like this. It gives this is just now coming to me, I think. I may have mentioned it before, but I forgot. But it reminds me, it's kind of Black Mirror-y. The ending is very Black Mirror vibes, in my opinion. But very, very good, very interesting, very different. Loved it. Maybe not the, waking up each day in a different person isn't super unique, but I thought the ending was very unique. A book you wish everyone would give a shot. I don't have this one, but because I've lent it out to a friend. I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Anne Reid. Obviously, I've talked about this book a million times, but I think everyone should give it a shot. It's a little weird. It's very weird, and it's kind of hard to get into because you're super confused the whole time. Like, there's never a moment in the book where you're like, yeah, I know what's going on. And if you did, good for you. I didn't. I was thoroughly confused throughout the whole book, but that's kind of the point. You're not meant to understand what's going on, and I think that throws a lot of people off. They're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand it. I'm dumb. No, you're not meant to understand it until the end, obviously. It gets explained, but people just go through it and are like, what? Nah, I don't understand what's going on, so they put it down. That's how you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel uneasy and very, very confused. So I wish people would it's not even that big. I don't have it, but it's very small. You just got to push through. You're not meant to understand it. It's not, if it was this and you didn't understand it, I'd understand that you want to put that down because that's a lot. That's a commitment. I don't even think, I don't know. I'm not going to lie and come up with a page number right now because I don't know how many pages it is, but it's very good and I think everyone should push through to the end. A book you'll never forget. Once again, so many, but I'm going to go with Gillian Flynn's or Gillian Flynn. I don't know. I've heard it said many ways. Dark Places. This book is very dark. So dark, which is probably why it's unforgettable to me. It's because it is so freaking dark, the things that happen in this book, that it is burned into my brain. It lives rent-free up there. It's in there. But I think the part that's like so memorable, it's not even just like the book, it's when I was reading the book. Like, I still very vividly remember reading this book. I was in organic chemistry 2, which means it would have been 2017, I think, and it was finals week. God knows why I picked up a book during finals week, but I did, and I didn't study for that organic chemistry final, let me tell you right now, because I was reading this book, because I was so enthralled. I was chilling by the pool while my roommates were studying, reading this book. I was chilling in my room, chilling outside on the patio, reading this book, not studying for my finals at all. So I think that is another reason it's so memorable to me, because I just casted everything to the side to read it. And of course, the actual book is super good. So this is about this girl named Libby Day. When she was 7, her mother and 2 sisters were murdered, and she survived, and she testified at the trial against her brother. So her brother was sent to prison for the murder of her whole family. And this is 25 years later. There is a secret society obsessed with crimes, and they are convinced the brother is innocent. So they're trying to free him from prison. And she's trying to, and she was so young. So this is her kind of trying to remember what happened and figure things out, because obviously all these people think he's innocent. So maybe there's some truth to that. So this is her kind of investigating and trying to, I don't want to say solve it, but kind of solve it and see if what she's remembering is right. And this goes back and forth in perspective and time. So it is her mom's perspective, her brother's perspective, and her perspective. I think that's it. And then it goes from present day to X amount of days before the killing. I don't know. I don't think it says X amount of days, but it'll be January 2nd, 1985. And then I don't know what time period she's in. Oh, it just says now. So it goes back and forth in time, and it goes back and forth in perspective, which I really, really enjoyed. And I loved everyone's perspective. So that's one thing that I sometimes don't like about dual perspective is, sometimes you like one more than the other. You don't care about certain chapters. And that was not the case with this one. I loved everybody's perspective, and I really like time jumps. So a lot of people don't, but I love them. So thoroughly enjoyed this one. and it will remain in my brain forever. That is all the questions. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.